It's nearly August, and in many parts of the northern hemisphere, that means peak summer heat. And with that heat, more and more parts of the world are on fire. And I'm speaking literally. If it feels like the news or your social feed has been filled with stories of raging wildfires, that's because in the past 30 days alone, wildfires have spread across parts of Canada, Spain, Portugal, France, Algeria, Sicily, Greece, and Turkey. That's just to name a few of the places that are experiencing these massive wildfires. These fires are devastating communities, and they're casting post-apocalyptic haze across communities hundreds of miles away.
Why does this continue to happen? It's like, I don't remember this growing up, that we had smoke and fires so often, but it just seems like it's becoming a new normal that we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And in a moment when it feels like everything is burning, how we cover these types of stories, well, that matters. And at Reuters, it means journalists on the ground, documenting the fires, the people, and the response. That can be grueling and often dangerous work, which is why on this episode of On Assignment, we're speaking with a photojournalist who's covered wildfires for years, up close and personal. Michael Blake shares with us what he does to prepare and document in some of the most brutal conditions that he's faced in 40 years as a photographer. And we'll explore how that's changing in a hotter world. This is On Assignment. I'm your host, Christopher Waljesper in Chicago. Photojournalists here at Reuters are some of the hardest working people in news. And to be perfectly frank, I love having them on assignment because they're not only documenting what's happening in the story visually, but they're capturing the emotion and like the humanity. There's a lot that goes into that, right? There's the story itself, but there's the planning, there's checking weather forecasts and public safety. There's a lot of logistics, and then there's making the picture. That's why I called up Michael Blake. Michael's been with Reuters for decades. He's covered wildfires both in California and in Canada. And Michael, thanks for being with me today.
Hey, it's great to meet you. I have been at Reuters a very long time. I'm at one of the old troopers here. I still love the job. It's just like, for me, it's the greatest job ever. And in California, they allow you to cross the evac line and the police lines that they set up. If you're a member of the press, you have your accreditation, your ID and stuff, and you're on your own. Once you cross in there, most of the people are going the other direction, and you're busy driving towards the fire. I'm glad I've been trained. I have the equipment. I'm glad I work with other photographers that are trained, because we always try and buddy up. If we go in somewhere, you try and go in with another photographer, so that you got someone if you get into trouble. And I've done that so many times.
I was looking through some of the footage and images that you've captured, and one jumped out at me. It was, you could see you were driving in, and there were, on one side, there were all of these vehicles that had kind of jammed up. There were crumpled bumpers and whatnot. And then on the other side, there were all these burnt vehicles.
Yeah. Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, we knew that day that we had heavy Santa Ana winds blowing. And those are the winds that come in from the desert. They're warm winds. Everyone will talk about them in California because they're beautiful in the winter, because you get this beautiful warm breeze and it's like summer. But as things dry out and stuff, the winds are very, very problematic if a fire starts, because the number one asset that CAL FIRE uses here is air attack, and they're very talented. But when the wind comes, they're grounded, and then they're just fighting it from the ground, and then that is way more difficult. And that's what happened with the LA fires. They were grounded. Those winds were like nothing I've ever experienced. at any fire, even in a really big storm. Up in Canada, you get these big storms with winds and stuff, and literally down on the 101, you couldn't stand up. It was knocking me to the pavement in a parking lot that was wide open. It was nuts, gusts of winds. And then, add the smoke to that, and all of a sudden everything starts to move. The palm trees are on fire. They ignite little sparks that just carry, and it just moves along. It's almost like a tsunami of fire.
What are you thinking about? If you're in a scenario like that, you've got your assignment, but you've also got all these other things happening around you. Like, what's going through your mind?
The first thing that goes through your mind is, how do you get there, right? I mean, that day started for me at 6 a.m. in our bureau, and it was just monitoring. There's an app we have called Watch Duty that's really good, and it gives us fire starts, and it gives us locations of pretty much everything that CAL FIRE is doing to fight the fire. So we know where their aircrafts are, we know where their choppers are, their spotter planes. Anyone who lives in California should have this app. And it's just like from what I understand, it's retired firemen who put it together. And, you're going to a place where everyone's fleeing. And that's basically what we do when there's a fire. You start heading towards the fire, and they're evacuating people out, and everyone's going the other direction. With their, if it's inland, it's like horse trailers and pickup trucks full of whatever they could throw in. And you're driving in towards the fire, which is, it seems really crazy, honestly, but it's pretty normal. I'm pretty used to it. You have to be really, really careful. And I've gotten into a practice of I'll always stop at a place where I can get a better idea of where the fire is. And I'll make a frame, drop it onto the wire. So we have basically a locator, this fire's going. And then it also gives me an idea to look at a map and go, okay, this is where I don't want to go. These roads go into a canyon. That road's a dead end. I can get in here and get out there. So you put a mental map in your mind of the wind's blowing this way, the fire's going that way. I'm going to try and always come in from the wind side. You don't want to come in. Sometimes you have to come in through the smoke, but that's really dangerous because you can't see to drive. So if you can come in with the wind on that side, the smoke's going the other way. And it's also better for pictures because you have a clear view of what's going on.
Certainly. Some of these images that stick with you, is there an example of one that you captured that really, is seared into your mind?
Oh God, I've taken so many pictures. I can go back more to moments than pictures. And the moment was arriving there, driving up PCH and getting to Sunset Boulevard, where Sunset Boulevard connects kind of down by the beach, and everyone was fleeing. People were, the first thing you have to do is where you park your car, and where do you park your car that it's not going to catch on fire? I mean, that's a thing that's going through your head. And then you have to base okay, I'm taking this gear with me, but I might need to come back to my car to get other gear. So your car is now your base, right? Because there's no cell phones. Everything's gone. You have no comms. I can't talk to our desk. I can't talk to our office. When you head out into the fire, you're basically by yourself and you're on your own. And the first thing I'm doing is taking pictures of people leaving, like they're running down Sunset Boulevard. And then you get a few pictures and then, okay, I got to get back to my car to file these. Get back to my car, and I'm like, I need to move my car because my car is going to be on fire in 10 minutes. So then I moved my car to another place and then filed some pictures. And then you basically head back out again to get what you can get. The hard part about that, the first day, well, actually all of it was comms, right? We're so used to picking up your phone and getting more info. You can look at your phone. What's CAL FIRE doing? What's the Watch app doing? And there was none of that. It was just what you see is what you're going to get. And what you don't see is what scares you, because I knew the fire was coming down. There was a big apartment complex on the north side of Sunset. And I knew if I go up to where there were a bunch of cars that were all piled up, and I wouldn't go, I didn't go around the corner to see where those cars are because the fire was coming down. And if I did, and this apartment caught on fire, I wasn't getting back to my car. So I kind of just stuck in this, I guess it was like a kilometer little area to move around in and work that. And then tried to head up to Malibu because I had heard from one of the CHP guys that it's already down on the water in Malibu. And I'm like, okay, I got to get up there. That's like another big, I mean, when a fire burns to the water in California, that's super rare because this is the most moisture point of the state. Usually the coast is much more humid than inland. So you see most of the fires are inland. When a fire burns all the way to the ocean, it's like, that's bad. That's really bad. That's as bad as it gets here. And I tried to get up the PCH into Malibu and you couldn't see 10 feet in front of your car. The smoke was so black. And then I thought, okay, now I got to turn around and I don't know what's coming down the road the other way, right? And it's not a really big wide road to turn around. And I got out of there and got back to a parking lot down around where Sunset is. And just kind of stationed out of there again. And there was stuff to shoot on the road coming back. There was stuff burning on the hillside, and there was like, there were so many pictures to shoot. You just couldn't shoot them.
Wow. Right. Like as an amateur photographer, sometimes we've got that camera up and you get a little tunnel visioned, right? Because you're thinking about what's on the other side of the lens, not what's to your left or right. And for me, that means maybe bumping into somebody, but for you, that's life or death. So how do you think about the situational awareness while you're also trying to make that shot?
Well, look, we have really good training at Reuters. I've been through a bunch of fire courses. They outfit us with Nomex gear. I've got masks. I wear goggles. All the fire gear that a Cal Fire firefighter would have is in the trunk of my car. And I've been to enough fires to have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. And probably not as sophisticated as the firefighters because, that they do that for a living. But I have an idea of like, okay, there's a picture there and I got to go try and get it. That's a picture, that's a picture, that's a picture. And then you go and try and gather those images and get them out on the wire.
Tell me about how you try to cover or capture the aftermath of a fire and how that might be different than trying to capture the blaze itself.
I'll go in and I take these pictures and people have lost their homes and I sent you a clip of me walking through the neighborhood in the Palisades the day after. I just walked with my iPhone down this street. There were still power lines hanging and that's what a wildfire does to your neighborhood.
Right? The orange sun through the haze. And
yes.
It was so eerily quiet.
I had walked all the way up because you couldn't drive. There were power lines everywhere. So I wanted to walk up this hill to try and get a view down of to get an overall of the scene if it's burned through the Palisades. And I had shot some stuff and I go, okay, I got to hike back down now. And I just started walking down and I go, this is like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. And I've been to a lot of fires. And I just put my iPhone up and I just walked and I didn't say a thing. And I just recorded it because I thought people need to see this. And I did. I sent it to our TV people and I said, hey, you just need to sit down and look at this because it's just so surreal. And it was kind of like, okay, I'm here and I'm the only one here and there's no one around, right? There's the odd helicopter flying by, but there were no firefighters. All the families have gone. At that point, I had no idea if people were dead in these homes. Like it was very it was just a very surreal moment to walk down that road. And there are so many other pictures that are going on during a fire that are just as important. Just people running down the road with shopping carts full of stuff. And there's no flames in it, but it's a really good storytelling picture. People with their pets, people loading up their cars, people. You see these pictures all the time, a guy on the roof of his house with a garden hose trying to hose down, the shingles on his roof. And those are pictures where there's no flames at all. And after the fire blows through, a lot of it is just I mean, that's the only fire I've ever teared up on and cried the next day walking through it. I'm like, it was devastating. And it was pretty it's the only time I've gotten emotional at a fire. It was just on and on and on and on. It just didn't stop. You know, you're in block street after street after street. And it's like you're looking at all of these people's lives have been changed forever. And at the time, you don't know if like, did these people even get out, right? How many people got out? There was I came around the corner and there was this long driveway that went down to this home, and the person had put in one of these, like, obviously they were older and they had a chair that they had this whole metal rigging that went down to their front door, and it would take their chair up to the top to get the mail. And I thought, oh, this is like, did that person get out, right? Like, yeah, I took a picture of it. I sent it on the wire. And to this day, I mean, you know, I went back and researched and I did realize the person was fine. But it's things at the time that you see that, like, they stay with you. That stays with me to this day.
Wildfires have been happening for years. That's nothing new, especially California has struggled with it for decades and decades. But what we are seeing is even incremental changes in global temperature have these ripple effects. How is covering these things changed over the, 4 decades that you've been covering wildfires?
Yeah, it's drier here. It's warmer here. Look at what just happened in Europe. I mean, they had extreme heat there. Today, when we're talking here, it's the hottest day so far this year. And the ocean here is warmer than it's ever been this time of year. It's warmer. We have to deal with it. And in California, that means dealing with wildfires because things burn. And Cal Fire is so good at fighting them. They are so talented at spotting wildfires. So good. They're so good that I can't even get to a lot of the fires when they come up because I know I'm not going to that one. They've got 3 helicopters over it, and I can see that they've got water bombers already in the air. So, and that's an hour drive for me. So I'm not going to get to that fire. That's how good they are. Whereas before it's like, oh, there's a fire, I'll head there because it's going to be going on for 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 hours or 2 days. On the flip side of that, our fire season was always around, oh, Halloween's coming, it's fire season, because things have dried out all along through the summer. We would always get and we still do, we'll get Santa Anas in the fall. And the problem we have now is the wind, when it happens, is stronger and it's drier and it moves faster. So, and the other problem we have is it's not October, it's fire season is every week here. Look at the LA fires. That was in January. When I first moved here, January, I mean, it's going to be the rainy month of January and February. But now my fire gear is in my car every day because every day is fire season here. Whereas before, I remember, come the end of September, I'd load in my fire gear into my trunk. I'd have to rearrange all my camera gear because you have to, there's only so much space. But now it's like, okay, fire gear's in my car all the time. Yeah. And that's changed because when I first came here, fire season was pretty much October, a little bit in November, and then that was it.
A big thank you to Michael Blake for all his time and his reporting. Our podcast team includes Eliza Davis-Beard, Mindy Burrows, Sharon Reichgarson, Gail Issa, Abasoya Osundairo, Ethan Plotkin, Josh Summer, Sebastian Summer, Alex Summer, Jonathan Stayers, Kim Vanell, and me, Christopher Waljasper. Our senior producers are Tara Oakes, Carmel Crimmins, and Jonah Green. Lila DeKretzer is our executive producer. For daily news around the world, check out our sister podcast, Reuters World News, 7 days a week. We'll be back next week on assignment.